The article was actually incredibly misleading and deceptive to the reader. It provides no context whatsoever for any of the incentives that my companies were awarded, and moreover, it makes it sound, by adding up everything that's ever happened and including things that will take the next 20 years to happen, and then summing that into a single number and applying it today, it makes it sound as though my company's getting some huge check, which is fundamentally false. And it's also incredibly outrageous that Jerry Hirsch would write about what Tesla and SolarCity are receiving in incentives, but not talk at all about the big IMF study that just came out talking about the subsidies for fossil fuels. And the crazy thing is, if you add up all the subsidies that SolarCity and Tesla get, historical and going forward, it is 1,000th of what the oil and gas industry get in a single year. And no mention is made of that. Basically, Jerry Hirsch couldn't have I mean, if he was paid by the oil and gas industry lobby, he couldn't have written a more favorable article for them.
Elon, let me ask you about one of the contentious points that you have. When we talked earlier on the phone, you said that there's very little mention about the economic benefit that you believe your companies will be providing in the future, the Gigafactory being a prime example in Nevada. In exchange for the $1.3 billion in tax incentives from the state of Nevada, you're planning to build a Gigafactory that ultimately could have as many as 6,000 jobs there. Give us your perspective there in terms of how you feel that's not being represented here.
Sure. And I actually wrote a blog specifically about the Nevada incentive, which makes Jerry Hirsch's article even more inexcusable because he completely ignores what was written there. The $1.3 billion that Nevada may end up awarding Tesla is actually spread out over 20 years. So we're talking about an average of a little over $50 million per year over 20 years. But in order for the factory to generate, or for the factory to receive that sort of incentive, we actually have to have an economic output from that factory of about $5 billion per year, or $100 billion over 20 years, which means the incentive is actually only a little over 1%. And I made that clear in the blog that I wrote, but Hirsch characterizes it as basically a check that we just get, which is totally false. We're not getting any check from Nevada. All it is sales and use tax abatement over that period of time. If we do all that, if we do all we're supposed to do and produce 6,500 jobs for the state, direct jobs, that doesn't count teachers, construction workers, electricians, plumbers, and all the support jobs that will come indirectly.
Elon, if you did not get those abatements and subsidy, go ahead.
Sorry, and one thing I should mention, like, I think the acid test for any incentive package like that is how does an external rating agency view that incentive package? And it was assessed independently by Moody's as causing the Nevada credit rating to increase, to improve. So it was independently assessed as something that made the Nevada state credit better, not worse.
Elon, if you did not get that incentive package from the state of Nevada, or really any state that you were considering the Gigafactory for, would you be able to build that Gigafactory? In other words, how crucial are those incentives in order to take that next step for developing the business?
None of the incentives are necessary. This is an important thing to appreciate. None of them are necessary. They are all helpful. These things tend to be characterized as either absolutely necessary or absolutely unnecessary. Both of those positions are false. What the incentives do is they are catalysts. They improve the rate at which a certain thing happens. And the reason these incentives are put in place is because the voters want a particular thing to happen, and they want it to happen faster than it might otherwise occur. And so what these incentives do is they, just like a catalyst in a reaction, they cause this good thing that voters think, this thing that voters think is good, to happen faster than it might otherwise happen. That's all that the incentives achieve.
Elon,
Brian,
it's
go
Brian
ahead.
Sullivan. Thank you, Phil. Elon, it's Brian Sullivan. Let's talk about what you have asked for, I suppose. And by the way, it's not the first for the LA Times. They wrote back in 2013 about subsidies. Mother Jones, National Review, they've all done stuff on this. Doesn't seem to be a lot new there. How much, though, of this tax credits or whatever they are have you directly or the company directly asked for from the government, if any?
The only ones that we've actually bargained for directly are the state level incentives. Or rather, to be precise, the placement of the Gigafactory, and on the SpaceX side, a very tiny one in Texas for a launch site. The vast majority of the incentives were not created by Tesla. They were simply there. For example, the zero-emission vehicle credits, that was something that was established about 20 years ago, driven initially by the state of California, worried about air quality in Los Angeles and the Bay Area. So these things existed for some time, and in the case of ZEV credits, it's actually not anything coming from the government. It's basically other car companies who are unwilling to produce electric cars buying zero-emission credits from Tesla instead. So instead of them producing electric cars, which is what they said they would do, they buy credits from Tesla. So it's not coming from the government.
And do you feel, Elon, I know that you referenced the oil and gas industry, which is ironic. I'm at an oil and gas conference today, but do you feel the other car makers have maybe pushed some of this onto you because they have struggled to sell either hybrid or all-electric cars?
I think some of it's coming from the the car companies that don't want to go electric. I think most of it's coming from the oil and gas industry, and some of it's coming from the car companies. I mean, the car companies, for car companies, going electric is, I mean, sort of an annoyance and something they'd rather not do, and it's a bit of a bother. But for the oil and gas industry, it's life or death.
So, Elon, let me play sorry to interrupt. It's Melissa Lee here. Let me just play the foil to this argument, because I think it's a good argument in terms of the oil and gas industry, and you make the point that you get 1/1000th of what that industry gets in terms of subsidies. Some might argue, though, that the oil and gas industry, by subsidizing them, brings down energy costs for the average American in a way that subsidizing your industry does not. What would you say to those critics?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, there certainly are electric cars that are affordable. I mean, you have things like the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Volt. The Tesla Model S is currently a relatively expensive car, but we expect to come out with our high-volume, sort of more affordable car in approximately 2017. If we could do so sooner, we would do so sooner. But the nature of technology development and the need to achieve economies of scale prevent us from coming out with a compelling low-cost electric car right now. However, those that do purchase the Model S and the Model X coming out later this year are directly helping Tesla fund the affordable electric car.
And on the topic of the Model X, Elon, in terms of it coming out on schedule, is everything up and running? Are the factory lines in place for the production of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to turn this into sort of I mean, there's a lot of things I can answer about Tesla and that I think people are curious about, but I do have a shareholder meeting coming up in about a week, so I'd prefer to answer questions about Tesla at that time.
Elon, this is Phil
Brian
again.
Sullivan again. Do you find, sorry, Phil, let me jump in on this, because it's just because my family's in the car dealership business. Elon, do you feel like it's a little bit ironic that people are bashing you over these subsidies on the back end when literally you have car dealership associations by state which are looking to legislate your sales model out of business?
Yeah, that is a difficult battle. I mean, I think in the end, consumers want the option of either going through a car dealer or either through a franchise or direct. So I think in the long run we're likely to win. Maybe not in all places, but in most places. And the FTC's come out certainly in favor of allowing direct sales. But yeah, I mean we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean the main thing I want to emphasize is that the incentives that Tesla and SolarStudy receive are tiny pittance compared to what the oil and gas industry receives every year. If you basically add up all past and future, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what the oil and gas industry gets every year.
Elon, it's Phil. One last question, because I know you have to run. A few weeks ago, Sergio Marchionne was out in the Bay Area. He talked about having a chance to visit your facility there and to talk with you at Tesla. And he's been very vocal in saying he sees a mega merger in the auto industry by 2018. Two questions. First, do you think that he's correct, that we will see some type of a mega merger or mergers within the auto industry by 2018? And two, has Fiat Chrysler approached you about possibly doing a merger?
Jeez, man, there's no way I can answer that. But well, I mean, I can say no. No, they have not asked us if they want to merge with Tesla. We had a great meeting with John Alcan, who sort of heads the family that owns the Fiat Chrysler, great guy, and Sergio, and it was really an enjoyable meeting. But it was mostly talk about potential cooperation in the future, but nothing to do with a merger or anything like that, and very informal. There's no, I don't want to characterize this as anything more than we had a pleasant meeting, and there's a slight chance something may come of it in the future.
And from your perspective, for the auto industry as a whole, do you agree with him that we will see a mega merger by 2018?
I think Sergio may know more than I do. I don't really follow what our competitors are doing very closely in terms of who's merging with who. Our goal is really just to build compelling electric cars and make progress as fast as possible towards the goal of Tesla that's been there from the beginning, which is to make a really compelling, affordable electric car. That really has been our goal from the start, and I wish we could have gotten there sooner, but we're doing the best we can.